Hello, Assalamu alaikum. First year MBBS. This is Dr. Shahmeera, that's demonstrator anatomy, and the lecture's topic today is integumentary system, and we are gonna study this topic in two parts. The first on the residency, and the second on Friday. This is the smart learning objectives that are taken from the study guide of GSMQ. First of all, we will discuss what is the skin, and then we will discuss about the appendages, and then we will also talk about fascia. The lecture of today is interpreting about skin origin, and appendages. For fascia, we'll be discussing that about on Friday. So first of all, what is a skin? There are different terms in the medical terminologies. We can also call that as derma or cutis or integument. There are multiple names. Just a simple definition which all of us can just interpret in our mind is that's just at the outermost membrane that is enclosing or limiting the whole body. It becomes continuous with the mucosa when it is going into the viscera, like from the mouth and inwards or from the nose and inwards. And it also continues with the appendages that are the protrusions on the surface of the skin. If we just roughly talk about the surface area of the skin, it will be around 1.7 meters square, as you can figure out from the surface area that this is a major organ of the body. So it is 15% of total of your body weight, and you receive one-third of your cardiac output at rest. Regarding its origin, it has dual origin. It comes from ectoderm as well as from the mesoderm. It has two layers, the outer or the superficial layer, as the name indicates, from epi and dermis, that is the outer layer. It comes from ectoderm, and it is basically a keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. While the deeper layer is the dermis, it comes from mesoderm, and it consists of connective tissue that are collagen and elastic fibers. First of all, this is a basic representation of different layers of epidermis. You can read the names from basal, spinosum, granulosum, lucidum, and corneum, and they are from innermost to the outermost. From this picture, it's quite evident that the cells that are present in the innermost layer, that is the basal, that is the regenerative layer, they proliferate, and as soon as they are reaching to the surface, they lose their nuclei, they become some flat cells, and the corneum is having only the dead cells that are only filled with the keratin. Okay? So this is the process how your skin or your epidermis regenerates. Below the epidermis will be the dermis as it present in this figure. The basal layer, basically it is having the biggermost cells, the columnar cells. Then will be the spinosum. It will be having multiple shapes. It's polyhedral. Then is the granulosum. Then lucidum, that is the clear layer or the thick, and lucidum is present only in the thick skin. We're going to talk about thick skin either at the end of this lecture or on Friday. Then is the corneum, that is only the flat dead cells, and they're only having some scales. There is no nucleus, and the shape is also flat. Now talk about dermis, that is the deeper layer, that is mesodermal in origin. It has a superficial layer, that is the papillary layer, and this papillary layer has some projections that are known as papillae. They can either be as a shape of the cone, as is prominent in this histological image, which you are also going to discuss in detail in the histology practicals. These papillae can be of conical in shape, or they can be a bit blunt. They are arranged in different manner, and they crisscross or they digitate with the projections in the lowermost surface of epidermis. Then comes the reticular layer. This is the deeper layer, and it contains the connective tissue or the fibrous tissue, and this fibrous tissue is arranged in the parallel bundles. These fibers, they are arranged in certain bundles, and the arrangement of those bundles, we can call them as the Langer's lines, and they are of a bit clinical importance because these lines, the incision that is given during the surgeries, if it's along these lines, then it recover easily. So these are a few clinical points which we are going to discuss about skin. Okay, as I just told you about the Langer's lines, it is also there are a few pictures that are present in the KLM anatomy book जो कि शायद आप लोगों ने देखी भी हो. There are simple lines जो कि एक दूसरे के parallel जा रही होती हैं. स्टमक के ऊपर पैरेलल जाएंगी, लिम्स के ऊपर जो है वो अप टू डाउन रन कर रही होंगी। इन्हीं लाइंस के पैरेलल जो सर्जन होता है सर्जरी करते हुए इंसिजन देता है, और उस इंसिजन का रीजन ये होता है कि जो हीलिंग हो उसका स्कार सबसे मिनिमल है। तो जो लैंगर्स लाइंस हैं वो तो सुपरफिशियल इमेजिनरी लाइंस हैं, डीप डाउन द डर्मिस दे they correspond to the arrangement of the fibrous tissue that is present in the dermis. Okay, अब with aging, all of us we get wrinkles. If someone is having any elderly person at home, he or she can notice the wrinkles. And why do these wrinkles come? They come because of the atrophy of the elastic fibers that are present in the dermis, as well as the fat that is present beneath the skin. Now is the linear gravidarum. Linear gravidarum are the stretch marks, and they appear because when the baby grows inside the womb, the tummy of the female stretches. As a result of that stretch, the connective tissue fibers or the elastic fibers in the dermis, they break down due to that rapid stretching, either due to obesity or due to pregnancy. That's known as stretch marks. If that's pregnancy, this will be linear gravidarum. Gravid is the term that is for pregnancy. Or if that's only obesity, as it can be seen in any obese person, then these are simply known as stretch marks. Now is the stria albicans. They are white scars and they appear after initial red streaks fade. Again, as the tummy stretches, first of all there will be white scars, and when they will, first of all there will be red streaks, and when they will fade, they will appear whitish scars. Now are the surface irregularities which we are going to discuss. So first of all is this figure we are going to talk about. The first hand which you can have a look at, this one, you can notice that there are some lines, and these lines are giving multiple shapes to this dorsum of someone's hand. Mostly if someone is having any elderly member at home, you can notice because their skin has lost their elastic tissue and the subcutaneous fat as well, you can notice that the dorsum of their hand, the surface looks uneven, like it is having different small shapes or the polyhedral boxes arranged. Most prominent in this knuckle region of this hand, as I have taken the picture. These lines are what known as tension lines. So this is a fine network of linear furrows that can be seen. A common example is on the dorsum of hand. They are lozenge shaped areas, means different shaped areas ban jate hain, and they are formed by the pattern of the dermal fibers. Now flexural lines, all of us can see these lines on the palms and your soles, like these. The normal lines of your palms, they are the flexural lines. Now the deep permanent grooves, the palms and the soles. Skin is bound to the deep fascia that allows folding during the joint movement. Now skin, and beneath the skin is the fascia. This is arranged in such a manner that movement is allowed at different joints. Like even you can even have a look on your wrist joint. There are some lines present, and all of the joints on their palmar surfaces, there will be such lines present. Okay, now we are going to discuss about the fingerprints. There are different pattern of the fingerprints. All of you can have a look at the digits of yours and you can analyze that आपका fingerprints किस तरह का है. The most common pattern of the fingerprints is the loops one, this one, and then come the whorls, the second most common, and the third, that is the least common, is the arches, which I haven't got an image for. These fingerprints are formed, and in the medical terms, they are known as the papillary ridges. They're present on the palmar surface of the digits of the palms and soles. These are narrow ridges separated by the grooves, and every one of us know that's a common established fact that fingerprints हर इंसान का different होता है, even though वो monozygotic twins ही क्यों ना हो. and they are the same since your birth, but they grow in size as your palm or your hand grows. Okay, now are the skin appendages, that are the epidermal derivatives or the growths that come from the epidermis of the skin, and they grow deep down into the dermis also, and sometimes to the subcutaneous tissue also during the embryonic development. Okay, so there are some examples of these appendages. Number one is the hair, then sebaceous glands, sweat glands, and nails. Appendages are meant for protection, thermoregulation, sensory reception, and excretion. Now, number one is the hair. All of the hair, they do have keratin, and they're thread-like structures, and they come out of the epidermis. The part of the hair that is out of the epidermis is known as the shaft of the hair, and the rest of the part remains inside the epidermis and deep down to the dermis also. Now, distribution. This can come as an MCQ as well, that hairs are present all over the body, but there are no hair on the palms and soles. On the dorsal surfaces of your distal phalanges, your umbilicus has no hair, the glans of the penis has no hair, inner surface of the prepuce and the labia minora, they do not have any hair. And what are hair meant for? Protection, retaining heat, and they also are sensitive to touch. Now talk about the macroscopic structure of the hair. From this layer of the skin, it is quite evident that there are record हो रहा है ना? Okay. So this image is showing different layers of skin. Number one is the epidermis. The different multiple layers of the epidermis are not shown here to make it simple. Then is the dermis layer. As I just told you earlier, that the part of the hair that comes out of the surface of the epidermis is known as the hair shaft. Okay, and then the part that is deeply present within the skin, deep down to the dermis, is what known as the root. Then as the papilla is the vascular connective tissue, and this is imaginating the bulb of the hair, and it supplies the nutrition. So this broad part is known as the bulb of the hair. This shaft that comes out of the skin is known as the this longitude, this projection that comes out of the skin is known as the shaft, and the connective tissue that is surrounding the bulb is known as the papilla. And the part that is deep down to the skin, like the part from hair and down, is what known as root. And from where the hair get the nutrition from, as you all can see that that dermis is having the vascular supply. So the blood vessels that are present in the dermis, they give nutritions via hair papilla to the growing hair, so they grow. Okay, now let's talk about the microscopic structure of the hair shaft. Okay, so this is the same hair follicle जो हमने पीछे देखा था, बस अब हम उसको different parts में label कर रहे हैं. Just like ये उसकी shaft थी जो ऊपर से जा रही है, keratin जो सबसे बाहर होता है, and the cuticle layer ये मौजूद है. Outermost single layer, flat overlapping scale-like cells, and they are pointing upward. Histological images during the practical will make it more clear. Okay, then after the cuticle, just go inside is the main bulk of the hair, that is the cortex, and these cells are the elongated keratinized cells, and इसी वाले part में आपका pigment पड़ा होता है, जो कि किसी का hair brown, किसी का black. That's the way. Now is the medulla, is the innermost core, this part. This is the hair medulla, and it is having some air spaces and loosely arranged cells. Now what is important, the fine hair or the vellus hair, they do not have any medulla. Okay, अब कुछ चीजें यहीं के यहीं देखते चलते हैं. This is the shaft, the part that is inside is the root, inside of the skin. Okay, the prominent or the bulb like part is known as the hair bulb, and what is the hair papilla is the surrounding connective tissue from where the growing hair receives its nutrition from. Okay, and what are the parts which we were talking about? Outermost is the hair cuticle, that is the flat layer of the keratinized cells. Then is the middle layer is the cortex, having the main bulk of the hair, and it is having the keratinized cells and the pigment that is responsible for the color of the hair. And innermost is the medulla, having some air spaces and loosely arranged cells, right? Now, as the hair is going out and the shaft comes out of the skin surface, there are some glands that they do open to the surface and they are known as sebaceous gland. ये आपका देखो हेयर के अंदर ही खुल रहे हैं, and that is the reason कि जो सबने नोट किया कि like even in a day 2 3 if someone is not washing hair तो कोई ना कोई सा secretion जो है वो आपके scalp के ऊपर में मौजूद होता है, and that is the secretion that comes from the sebaceous glands. Now one more thing जो हमें इसी picture से clear हो रही है is that erector pili muscle. Erector जिससे नाम से पता चल रहा है erect करने वाले, pili is the medical terminology for hair and it's a muscle. So अब if someone has noticed during any fight or flight response that small hair that are present on your body surface, like on the dorsum of your hand or on the dorsum of your forearm, they feel like they're a bit upright, erected. So that happens due to this muscle that is known as the erector pili muscle. Okay, so now we were talking about the hair follicle, that is the tubular invagination of the epidermis enclosing the root. This whole part that is inside the skin is the hair root, and the invagination of this epidermis that is enclosing it is known as hair follicle. So it is having an inner sheath that comes from the epidermis itself, and it disintegrates at the level of sebaceous glands. These are the sebaceous glands. The outer root sheath, that's continuation of the basal and spinosum, that is the innermost two layers, give rise to the outer root sheath जो इधर कहीं मौजूद होंगी. Okay, then is the connective tissue sheath. It's derived from epidermis. Okay, so as we just discussed about erector pili muscle, that is the band of the smooth muscles, it extends from the papillary layer of the dermis. It is not shown here. Where was the papillary layer? It was the first layer of the dermis, or the outermost layer of the dermis, that was having dermal papillae that were crisscrossly arranged or digitating with the epidermal projections, right? So it extends from the dermal papillae to the connective tissue sheath of the hair follicle below the sebaceous glands. This is the attachment. Then is the nerve supply. Obviously, we just talked about the fight and flight response. So what is the fight and flight response? That is a sympathetic response of the body. So it is clearly indicated. इसी से हम याद भी रख सकते हैं सिंपली कि सिंपैथेटिक ऑटोनॉमिक फाइबर्स जो हैं वही इस वाले स्मूथ मसल को सप्लाई कर रहे हैं. एंड व्हाट इज द फंक्शन? आई जस्ट मेंशन दैट अर्लियर. दिस इज it contracts to pull the hair vertically in during the goosebumps or any fight or flight response. Also, it helps in squeezing the sebum from the sebaceous glands. Now, the second appendage which we are talking about is the sebaceous gland. It is a simple branched alveolar gland. It is holocrine in secretion mode, and the entire cell disintegrates and releases its product. It is distributed widely across the body, and this is attached to the hair follicle. जिधर जिधर आपका hair मौजूद है उधर उधर आपका in short sebaceous gland भी मौजूद है जो कि इसकी root के अंदर खुल रहा है. Multiple images have shown that clearly that this is the sebaceous gland and this is how it's opening. Okay, कहाँ पे hair नहीं था? Palms and sole में hair नहीं थे, तो वहीं पे sebaceous glands भी नहीं है. Okay, and some sebaceous glands जो है वो different locations के ऊपर मौजूद हैं. In the inner surface of the eyelid, that are the tarsal glands or the meibomian glands. Then are the areolar Montgomery tubercles, and in other examples जो आपने याद रखनी है, in the lips and the glands of the penis. These sebaceous glands are independent. They like these locations, they do not have hair either, but they do have the sebaceous glands. Okay, so there are small alveoli, and then comes a small or a short duct, and it empties into the upper third of the hair follicle. And what is the secretion? This is some oil rich or some oily secretion that known as sebum. Like even on the face, that oiliness that occurs, especially during the summer, this is what? This is the product sebum that comes from the sebaceous gland. Okay. And what is the function of sebum? If we just talk in context to the hair, that it lubricates the hair and skin. It also prevents the desiccation of the skin, and it is bactericidal. And this secretion has some bactericidal and fungicidal properties. Like जो भी organism आपके skin के ऊपर बैठा होगा वो आपकी skin को invade ना कर रहा हो, उसके लिए उसको kill करने की properties भी sebum के अंदर मौजूद है. Okay. Like in more detail, यहाँ पे हमारी ये shaft मौजूद है. जो अंदर वाली चीज, the part of the hair that is inside the skin is the hair root, and the layer of the connective tissue जो कि आपका सारा इसको सराउंड कर रहा है, and the layer of the epidermis जो कि इसको सराउंड कर रही थी, that was hair follicle. उसी के अंदर से आपका जो है sebaceous gland भी ओपन हो रहा है in the outer 1/3 of the root of the hair. ठीक है, और यहीं से इसकी जो सिक्रीशन है ये आपके हेयर को सराउंड कर लेंगी, and they are meant for lubrication and also to prevent desiccation and to kill the bacteria or any microbe that is attacking the skin or the hair. सही. Another more clear के देखें आपका किस तरह से बल्ब के इर्द गिर्द का जो कनेक्टिव टिश्यू है डर्मल पैपिली, उसी के अंदर से जो है वो ब्लड सप्लाई आके आपके हेयर को न्यूट्रिशन मिल रही है. राइट. Now the third appendage of the skin that we are talking about is the sweat glands. And in sweat gland we will talk about two glands, that are the apocrine glands and eccrine glands. The tubular exocrine glands that are found almost all over the body, they are known as the sweat glands. और इनसे जो product आती है that's known as sweat, जो कि simple watery secretion होती है. And मैकेनिज्म इसका क्या होता है, स्वेट क्यों आ रहा होता है, इसी से आपके बॉडी का टेम्परेचर रेगुलेट हो रहा होता है, और जो थोड़ा बहुत मेटाबॉलिक वेस्ट होता है स्किन का वो एक्सक्रीट आउट हो रहा होता है. The two major type of the sweat gland that we are talking about, you can see that is an apocrine gland. Here, this is a small alveolus of the gland, then are the cells, और ये करते हैं आपका exocytosis. इसी से जो प्रोडक्ट है, जो इनकी प्रोडक्ट है जिसे हम स्वेट कहते हैं, it comes into these alveoli, then is a small secretory duct, and then it comes to the surface of the skin, right? And then यहाँ पे आपने sebaceous gland को देखा है, that is holocrine. इसका जो प्रोडक्ट है उसमें सेल पूरा का पूरा डिसइंटीग्रेट करता है और फिर वो अपने कॉन्टेंट्स एल्विलाई में रिलीज करता है, एंड देन कम्स द सेक्रेटरी डक्ट जिससे फिर वो सरफेस ऑफ द स्किन के ऊपर चले जाते हैं. राइट. नाउ आर द eccrine sweat glands that are present on almost all of the surface of the body. Most abundant parts, forehead, palms and soles. Simple coiled tubular gland, और ये जो coil of the gland है, this is present in the dermis or hypodermis. And then is the secretory duct that is directly opening via a sweat pore onto the surface. इनका जो secretion mode है वो होता है via exocytosis. Like the cells from their surface, as shown just here, they form small eccrine, sorry, is not mentioned in this picture, but they just give small bags, and there is simple those small vesicles or the bags, they are just secreted into the alveolus of the gland, and then via secretory duct they are released onto the skin. Product is the true sweat. It's clear, watery, hypotonic, and having sodium chloride, urea, uric acid. Now apocrine glands. आपका जो आर्मपिट है, अंडर लेग्स हैं, पेरिएनल रीजन है, एंड इन एरियोलर रीजन जो है वहाँ के जो स्वेट ग्लैंड्स हैं उनकी सिक्रीशंस थोड़ी विस्कस एंड मिल्की हैं, और उनके जो ट्यूब्स हैं दे आर ऑल्सो coiled, but they are larger and they're even more deeper in the dermis as well as in the hypodermis. And again the secretory duct is opening into the hair follicle above the sebaceous gland, not directly onto the skin. So हमने अभी तक कुछ वाज़े डिफरेंसेस जो हैं वो एपोक्राइन और ईक्राइन स्वेट ग्लैंड्स के बारे में पढ़े. सबसे पहले कि जो eccrine sweat glands थे उनकी जो tubules थी, let me just show you the tubules and their arrangement. Okay, so you can have a look. These are sweat glands. These are eccrine sweat glands. So the coiled tubule is present, and this is present in the dermis. लेकिन dermis के ऊपर ऊपर वाले हिस्से में ही ये मौजूद है, right? And this coiled tubule is then opening into a secretory duct and is then opening onto the surface of the skin via a sweat pore, as shown here. Okay, sorry. So this is simple. एन ईक्राइन स्वेट ग्लैंड जो मोस्ट ऑफ द स्किन सर्फेसिस के ऊपर मौजूद होता है, पाम्स में, सोल्स में, फोरहेड में, इन सब में होता है. ओके और इसकी जो सिक्रीशन थी वो स्वेट थी और स्वेट का काम था थर्मोरेगुलेशन एंड एक्सक्रीशन ऑफ माइनर वेस्ट. और जो सिक्रीशन थी वो एक्सोसाइटोसिस के थ्रू आ रही थी आपकी किसमें, एक्सोसाइटोसिस के थ्रू आ रही थी आपकी एल्विलाई ऑफ द ग्लैंड में और फिर जो है वो सिक्रेटरी डक्ट के थ्रू, सिक्रेटरी पोर के थ्रू ऑन द सर्फेस ऑफ स्किन चली जाती थी. ठीक है, और इसमें कोई सेल्यूलर डैमेज नहीं हो रहा था एंड दिस वाज अ ट्रू वाटरी सिक्रीशन. Okay, so first of all is the difference is in the distribution. Eccrine glands are widespread while the apocrine gland they will be located to some specific areas like axilla, areola, perianal and genital regions. Then the second difference is in the structure and presence. The eccrine glands they were present in the superficial surfaces of the dermis and sometimes deeper as well, but their tubules were less coiled and simple and they opened to the skin via a sweat pore. While the apocrine glands, they were larger coiled tubules and they were deeper in the dermis and hypodermis and they open into the hair follicle just above the sebaceous gland and they do not directly open to the surface of skin. And the last difference is the product. That was the watery product or the true sweat, while the product of apocrine gland was some viscous and milky secretion. At the beginning, it had no odor, but as our skin is having a lot of bacteria on the surface, so bacteria break down that milky secretion, and as a result, the sweat that is present in the armpits has some odor. Okay, so once again, we jump to this diagram of the skin, the basic representation. The structures, these are the simple coiled structures, then comes a secretory duct, and then is a sweat pore. They're the eccrine sweat glands, okay, and their secretion is true watery sweat. The ones that are not shown in this picture, they will be deeper down to the hypodermis and even more deeper in the dermis with more complicated and coiled tubules. Then they open above, just here somewhere, or somewhere just here on the surface of the hair follicle. They open above the sebaceous glands. Okay, they do not directly have any sweat pore to make them open to the surface of skin directly. So if we talk about the sweat glands, what are the differences? Apocrine and eccrine sweat glands. Number one was the distribution, just for a quick recall. Okay, number one was the distribution. Where were eccrine glands present? Mostly all over the body. Where were apocrine glands present? Mostly all over the body. While the apocrine glands present, you can remember that. A simple thing that helps me in remembering, I can also tell you about those. Like apocrine comes with an A and axilla, areola, this again comes with an A. So you can just keep in the back of your mind that apocrine, axilla. And if axilla, then the other things will again come like areola, perianal, genital, like some specific regions, right? So first difference in between the apocrine and eccrine was the distribution. Eccrine all over the surface, apocrine areola, axilla, etc., etc., etc. Number two was the structure, the simple coiled, less coiled, having a secretory duct, then a sweat pore, dermis, hypodermis, but a bit above, and having a separate opening that is sweat pore for opening onto the surface of skin. They are eccrine, while the ones much more complicatedly coiled, then opening onto the surface of hair follicle above the sebaceous gland are apocrine glands. Number third will be secretion. Eccrine ये जो सिक्रीशन है दिस इज ट्रू स्वेट और द वाटरी सिक्रीशन. एपोक्राइन की जो सिक्रीशन इट्स व्हाइट विस्कस एंड मिल्की. स्टार्ट में उसमें कोई स्मेल नहीं होती, लेकिन स्किन के बैक्टीरिया जब उसको ब्रेक डाउन करते हैं तो उसमें स्मेल आ जाती है. ओके. देन व्हाट्स द मोड डिफरेंस? द सिक्रीशन मोड. इक्राइन एक्सोसाइटोसिस के थ्रू करते हैं. एंड वन मोर थिंग, यस, जो आपके एपोक्राइन स्वेट ग्लैंड्स हैं दे बिकम एक्टिव एट प्यूबर्टी अंडर हार्मोनल इन्फ्लुएंसेस. ओके. Yes. Now there are some specialized apocrine glands. Number one is the ceruminous gland. आप इसको cerumen से याद रख सकते हो. Cerumen ear wax के लिए आपकी Greek या medical term होती है. ठीक है. So these are the modified apocrine glands या के आउटर ईयर या एक्सटर्नल ऑडिटरी मीएटस के अंदर मौजूद होते हैं और वहाँ का जो स्टिकी ब्राउनिश सब्सटेंस होता है जिसे हम ईयर वैक्स कहते हैं उसकी प्रोडक्शन के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल है. Then are the ciliary glands or the glands of moles. They are again the modified glands and they are present on the margins of eyelids. Then mammary glands. इनका जो फंक्शन है वो मिल्क प्रोडक्शन है. They are again enlarged and modified apocrine glands. Right? Okay. So now comes the fourth appendage which we are talking about today. This is nails. They are again the keratinized plates and they outgrow from the epidermis of the skin. They are hard and they are situated on the dorsal aspect of the distal phalanges of the fingers and toes. They are again protective in function and they are protecting the sensitive tips of the digits. They aid in gripping, facilitate in the fine movements like scratching, picking, writing, etc. Now, talking about the gross structure of the human nail. Okay, so this is the part, this is known as the free edge, right? जो कि outer grown part होता है. Then is the main is the nail body or the plate, the visible hard part of the nail. Then comes the nail root. This is the proximal part, the hidden part जो हमें बाहर से नजर नहीं आ रहा skin से, and this is embedded into the skin folds. Then is the nail bed. This is highly vascular epidermal layer that is situated directly beneath the nail plate. Okay, the nail bed. Then is the lunula. This is the white part. This is lunula, the opaque whitish cushion-shaped part at the proximal end of the nail plate. So this whole structure is the nail plate. Outer part is the free edge. Okay. So this nail plate is having nail body and nail bed. Nail bed is the vascular part, and then the outer surface that is protecting the major chunk of the nails or the digits is the nail body, right? Now the microscopic anatomy of nails, which we will talk about now, we will discuss about. So इसमें आप ज़्यादा और clearly देख सकते हो जो हमने सब पढ़ा था. Cursor, yes. So this is the free edge of the nail. Then is the major part, the nail body, जो कि आपके जो digits हैं उनके major part को cover कर रहा है. Then is the white part that is lunula. Then cuticle layer जो कि around the nail होती है. This is eponychium in the Greek term. Then nail bed जो कि आपका embedded part है inside पे. This is the nail bed. Okay. Then is the nail root. यहाँ पे nail root के बारे में हमने पढ़ा था proximal and embedded part. यही जो इसका proximal और embedded part है यही से सारी nutrition इसके लिए आ रही है. Okay. So now we will talk about the nail matrix. These things will be more clear when we will doing the histology practical. The thick proximal part of the nail bed, this is the part, is responsible for the growth of the nail and this produces the keratinocytes of the nail plate. यहाँ से सेल्स प्रोड्यूस होंगे बेड में से मैट्रिक्स के थ्रू और वो बाहर की तरफ जाते रहेंगे और पूरी प्लेट और बॉडी के जो है सेल्स वो रिप्लेस होते रहेंगे क्योंकि फ्री एज तो विद इन अ वीक और 2 या जो भी इसके डेज हो उसमें ये ग्रो करती है और फिर डेड होती है तो उसकी वजह से it is like of no use. This is how the nail grows. Then is the eponychium or the cuticle that is surrounding the fold of the stratum corneum. This is overlapping the proximal end of the nail. Okay. So the proximal end of the nail here, this is the eponychium. Then is the hyponychium. This is the thick part this. The red one is the hyponychium, the thick stratum corneum that is beneath the free distal edge of the nail. Okay. सो ये सारा पार्ट यहाँ से ये स्टार्ट हो रही है आपकी एपिडर्मिस एंड देन हाइपोनाइकियम जो कि कॉर्नियम की ही लेयर है एंड दिस इज बीनीथ द फ्री डिस्टल एज ऑफ द नेल। अभी तक हमने क्या पढ़ा? फ्री एज, तो कि जैसे जैसे सेल्स आपके नेल बेड और नेल मैट्रिक्स में से रीग्रो करके आते जाते हैं केराटिनोसाइट्स ये नेल प्लेट और नेल बॉडी के सेल्स को रिप्लेस करते जाते हैं और फ्री एज आगे की तरफ आती है जो कि फिर एट द एंड कट कर दी जाती है। देन हमने पढ़ा था आपका ल्यून्यूला दैट इज द वाइट क्रिसेंट शेप एरिया। देन जो सबसे ज्यादा वेस्कुलर एरिया था जो कि एम्बेडेड था इनटू द स्किन, दिस इज द नेल बेड एंड द नेल रूट, दिस इज नेल बेड एंड देन इज द नेल रूट। नेल बेड के अंदर ही नेल मैट्रिक्स मौजूद था जहां से ये रीजनरेट करते हुए रीग्रो करते हुए सेल्स आते हैं और ये आगे के सेल्स को रिप्लेस करते रहते हैं। Then is the eponychium. This is the cuticle, the fold of the corneum overlapping the proximal end of the nail. Hyponychium, the thick stratum corneum that is beneath the free distal edge of the nail. This all red part is the hyponychium. This is present here. Okay. This is the stratum corneum's layer and this is beneath the free distal edge of the nail and this secures the free edge of the fingertip. Okay. ये आपकी फ्री एज ऑफ द नेल है, अपने अपने नेल पे सब देख सकते हैं। इसके नीचे वाली जो लेयर है जो कि सपोर्टिव है उसको हम कहते हैं हाइपोनाइकियम। Okay, so we are just approaching towards the end. There are a few terminologies that are mentioned in the handbook of BD Charasya and we need to talk about them. And what are these? Alopecia. The first one that is mentioned over there, alopecia, in simple words is known as baldness. Okay, either hair are not there or they are lost. It can either be genetic or it can be due to some immunity reasons or autoimmune reasons, any systemic diseases, or it can even be psychogenic also. Okay, then comes acne vulgaris. Acne vulgaris is basically the full term for the term that we simply call as the pimples, जो टीन एज का एक बहुत कॉमन प्रॉब्लम है या कोई ना कोई हार्मोनल इम्बैलेंस अगर बॉडीज में चल रहा हो तो उसकी वजह से भी आता है. Why it happens? We just had a look on the sebaceous gland that were some coiled glands and they were present within the dermis and they were opening to the upper third of the hair follicle and the secretion of those glands was known as sebum that was having some oily part in that. If these glands become inflamed due to the bacteria that are present on the skin, if there is some breach in the skin continuity and those bacteria attack they just attack the sebaceous glands in the hair follicle and they get inflamed, then these glands get inflamed and they become their pores become blocked. Their secretion is then accumulated inside and this give rise to acne or the pimples. Okay, this condition is common during puberty because there is excess production of those sebum and it also can be due to the androgen driven sebum and it can also be due to increase in some hormonal synthesis, either androgen that occurs during puberty normally or even in some other conditions like polycystic ovarian syndrome in which there is increase in acne due to increase in the sebum production again due to hormonal imbalances, right? Then comes the sebaceous cyst, as we just told you before that sebaceous glands are present in many parts of the body. So if any of the sebaceous gland is blocked, its secretion is then accumulated inside the gland that is leading to the swelling of that gland and this give rise to sebaceous cyst. That is due to the accumulation of sebum that is tense, that is tender and a bit red. Now is paronychia. Nychia is the term for nails and paronychia is an infection of the nail folds. It can be due to bacteria or fungus. Then clubbing. Clubbing is the loss of normal nail angle between the plate and the proximal nail fold associated with hypoxia. Congenital, it can be in many conditions, right? Clubbing can be in some chronic lung diseases or in cancers. There are many conditions. If you are just labeling one or two, that are enough. Koilonychia, this means spooning of the nails. That is a classical sign of iron deficiency anemia. Hyperhidrosis, it means increased sweating. And this is due to sympathetic overactivity. Anhidrosis means no sweating. This can lead to life-threatening hypothermia because if there is sweat produced, this leads to thermoregulation, body's temperature is regulated. Now, bromohydrosis, that's poor-smelling body odor, that's caused by the bacterial breakdown of the apocrine sweat in the axilla or the armpits. So, this is the last slide of today's lecture. What we are going to do on Friday is we are going to discuss these clinicals again with some images to make a memory, to just memorize easily that what exactly these clinical conditions is. Okay, and we will be having a quick recall of today's lecture again on this Friday along with fascia, superficial and deep, the remaining clinical anatomy, and we will be discussing about thick skin and thin skin, right? कितनी देर का बने 40